Okay. Aloha, everyone. I see Rep Hashimoto, our co-chair, is on. Aloha, Troy. What are you? There he is. Nice background.
Hi.
Hi. I also see Senator Mitsulucha and Representative Ilagan. Aloha. Um, so we have we're just going to go over bills that passed, bills that didn't, and any other discussion that we'd like to have today for the next hour or so. So I'm going to start it off with Charles putting up on the screen the bills that passed. Unfortunately, we were not as successful as we were the year before the pandemic. Uh, but there were three bills that deal with the kupuna. The ones that we've been trying forever on finally passed. HB 490, which is the crimes against the senior, upping the penalty and lowering the age. So um, Rep Hashimoto was going to try to get somebody from the prosecutor's office. Were you able to get somebody, Troy? Or you can speak about it if you want to.
That's a good question. Yes, we were able to get someone. I think they're on. So
Okay.
Lewis is here, little from the Maui prosecutor's office. So welcome, Lewis. I guess, maybe you might want to help us, just give us a quick overview and remind the members of the Kupuna Caucus of what this bill does and kind of, a summary. And I know Robert Rivera probably is here too. So either Lewis or Robert, if you could just jump in real quick and maybe make a pitch to help us get the governor, right?
Yeah, the governor just signed. But if you can also activate your video so we can see you, if we
I
can.
thought I did, but could see I'm viewing.
Yeah, maybe Charles has to unshare his screen, see them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, I'm on also. Tony Enriquez from our office is on, so we've got several of our people from the prosecutor's office on. And Robert's there too, I see him in the middle of my screen. Basically, the purpose behind this bill was to basically provide enhanced penalties and provide more protection to the kupuna. We were looking at the way we were doing this was for if it was a kupuna, someone who was there was discussion about the age was settled on 60 years. At that point, if someone commits a crime at that against a kupuna who's 60 or older, it was an increased penalty. And that was a major thing that passed in this bill. We were trying to get basically strict liability, which means it was automatic, which we have in one other statute, unauthorized entry into a dwelling where someone's thing, but that was the only statute we've had that in. And so that really didn't make it through, but I'm happy what we did get through did, because it's baby steps. We can start working on this and making it stronger. When it went through the caucuses, went through the different committees, they are also adding on other things, protecting more people. So they did see the need for this. And we think it's going to be very strong when it goes to the legislature. So basically, when it comes to things like theft, assault, forgery, these are the things that we were looking to increase the penalties on, and which we did succeed in that. All in all, except for the thing where we couldn't get the strict liability, it is an excellent bill. I wholeheartedly hope the governor signs it. My understanding of Hawaii law, and I'm not a legislative counsel, is that basically it's 45 days from the end of the legislature, which is tonight, but he has 35 days in which to decide whether or not he's going to veto it. After that, it can become law by without his signature or with his signature. So at this point, that 35 days runs on June 3rd. So that's the next big day we're looking at.
So Lewis, what more was added? What was it also that there were financial abuse as well stuck in this bill?
But
In
some of the things
addition
that
to
they were doing, upgrading the things, not only for Kupuna, but also for emergency medical workers and things like that, and things, they were basically changing that and adding them into this, making the bill stronger and supporting more people, not just the Kupuna. And that's one of the things that'll actually make it stronger going forward. Um, there was some talk about the financial things, but that's pretty much covered in the theft and in the forgery.
and is that it's all still the 60 years and above? So the 60-year
Yes,
provision is across the board.
yes. And if Keone or Robert wants to add anything, I think we've did an excellent job, and I really appreciate the Kupuna Caucus support and everything they did to support this, because it was outstanding. The Not only this year, but last year, where we almost got it through. And this was the culmination of that. And we'll bring up some more things next year if we can find something that needs to improve.
Good work. I know I thought I saw Senator San Buenaventura on, and she's the Human Services Committee Chair. I don't know if you want to add anything on this bill, Joy, um, on the.
I think it pretty much it was covered, and basically I don't see any reason why the governor is going to veto it, but it's all going to play out, yeah, when they start prosecuting, what the defense is going to be and whether or not it's going to, like all other bills we pass, whether or not it's going to stand challenge. So let's see what happens.
Okay, thank you. And just across the board for everybody on these bills that we actually did get passed, the governor has until June 21 to let us know if he's going to veto, and at that point, all hands on deck. If we don't see the bills on that list, I think we could be reassured that he either sign it or it'll go into law without his signature. So June, keep tuned in. June 21st is the date.
And now you see why I'm not a legislative counsel.
Well, but we'll keep our eyes open, and we will keep in touch with you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Louis. Thank you, Robert. Going to the next bill, I don't know if Ian Ross is on. HB 1283 is the dementia training, Alzheimer's training by, I think, the Alzheimer's Association. Is Ian there? No. Basically, the Alzheimer's Association has training programs, and they were willing to help in training the first responders, the police departments, and so forth. And it's available. And I think the bill got transformed a little bit from requiring that they have this training to soften it to that they may get the training, and the training is available. So that bill also passed, and I don't know if anybody had any more to say on that.
So Sharon, I want to add something to
Yeah,
that.
yeah, please do.
Okay, so a lot of discussion was done on that, and some of the testifiers, I mean, the reason for the dementia training was some of the testifiers were kind of upset because they were the caregivers, and let's face it, a lot of seniors who are really far along with their dementia and accusing their caregivers of abuse when in fact that hasn't occurred. But the reality is the law enforcement, they need to make a call right there and then. So people are going to get arrested regardless of whether or not there is dementia training. We just need to, I think that's one of those things we need as a caucus, need to figure out something going forward. requiring dementia training alone isn't going to fix the problem of the caregivers getting arrested when the person suffering from dementia is accusing the caregiver of abuse.
Mm.
Okay, and my in-laws are like that. They're going through dementia and they're accusing everyone around them of abuse when in fact none of that thing is happening. But law enforcement got to do what law enforcement's got to do, which is basically arrest and figure it out later on, you know, what's happening. So that's one of those things. I don't know whether or not we can cure that instance. I think caregivers are going to end up getting arrested, but the idea is hopefully it'll be release will occur soon thereafter, as soon as law enforcement figures out that this is just a symptom of dementia. I see Ian Ross there. And I don't know whether, I mean, right now, I think through the conference, it became permissive because a lot of the EMS and law enforcement says they have their own kinds of dementia training. So we don't want to, especially when we were facing a $1.7 billion deficit, we don't want to add in more costs to, and that wasn't part of the Kupuna Caucus package, but there was a separate bill that spun off Oahu EMS. And so with this whole reorganization, we didn't want to add in an extra cost until we figure out what happens with the whole EMS thing. That's all,
thank you.
All I wanted to add, and I see Ian Ross here.
Yeah, Ian.
He can help out regarding the
training.
Arrest of the caregivers at a time of accusations by somebody who has dementia.
Hi, Ian.
Aloha.
Hi, aloha. Would you like to add to that what our discussion is on what the training would entail and what Senator San Buenaventura is saying is that the concern was that, people who have dementia or Alzheimer's will be accusing those around, and the police have to make a really fast call. And, would the training involve how to make that call as correctly as you can?
Well, fantastic question. Thank you very much. And, the senator did a fantastic job of describing a lot of the political considerations. So I'll leave that one aside. She's by far more qualified. She was in, it's hard to access the building. So she was in those conversations. I wasn't. On the type of training, we would have joined about 10 other states with some form of training requirement. Allowing permissive training, I think, is a very important first step. We're essentially one word away from being able to join those other 10 states with an incredible system that would require this dementia training. Now, there are 4 main criteria that the training would include, and this is quite comprehensive, actually, despite being short. Recognizing key signs of Alzheimer's disease and related types of dementia, strategies for assessing cognition, best practices for interacting with persons having Alzheimer's disease and related dementia, and also strategies to best identify and intervene in situations where persons having Alzheimer's disease and related dementia may be a particular risk for abuse and neglect. And that last point, Senator, I think really gets to your question about assessing if the person might be neglected or abused, because they often do make accusations. But we also know this population is uniquely vulnerable to abuse. So it's important to be able to do a bit of both there. Now, for the training for different forms of first responders, what I'll say is we did try to work with HBD with the language after it passed over towards the bill, crossed over to the Senate, to try to find a different way to work this out. And Caroline from the Executive Office on Aging was part of those conversations and did a really great job helping us try to work out ways this could work. And so one suggestion was this training would be required, but all of the details of training would be recommended and not mandated by the Executive Office on Aging, but they would receive reports on the type of training and just say, hey, by the way, if you're not sure what to do, here are some training resources. So that would have required the training. While there's a concern for some emergency services, that if the training standards can be shifted by the Executive Office on Aging, that puts them in a situation where what happens if we require 30 hours of training a year? We'd never do that. And we know we'd never do that, but you can recognize that type of concern there. Unfortunately, that language wasn't picked up by the Senate. I know that senators have additional concerns, and we can't just find a compromise with emergency services and bam, we have a bill. But those conversations have started for potentially next year. The only other thing the last thing I'll mention is we've all probably heard that terrible news in Colorado about the woman with dementia who shoplifted, I think, like $13 worth of things, and her arm was broken. These situations are common. 29,000 people have dementia today in Hawaii, 35,000 by 2025. It's a growing problem, so we need a solution. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. And Ian, I don't know if in the interim, because of this, what is the training and how, and especially to help first responders on how best to recognize the signs of whether there is abuse or not. I think that's critical. And I understand that we do have an Alzheimer's coordinator position in EOA. So I'm hoping in the interim, you folks can work on some of this with first responders, because I think it's critical that they know what to do, and that we don't get overly broad, but also be able to have the right training. So hopefully that, will lead to something in the next session.
I'm happy to share one last detail. In the last week, the Alzheimer's Association nationally has come out with a 1-hour online training with tests as you go, which actually hit all 4 of the criteria. It's completely free. I'm not trying to market anything here, but that would check the boxes. And we actually think, sometimes online training falls short. We think this one's really high quality, and it's one of many that are available and free online.
So you might want to put that website or whatever on the chat, and then people can see that. Thank you, Ian. Okay, so we have the third bill, which is a resolution actually, is SCR 219. It has to do with the broadband HUI that's in existence to serve the underserved, unserved, and they've been going on for a while, but this really adds on the underserved elders. So the person, Senator Misalucha, is on. She was the one that was instrumental in introducing this bill. So you might want to add something, Bennett. I see you.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. I wanted to mahalo first Senator San Buenaventura and Senator Moriwaki, Representative Johansson, and Representative Kitagawa for hearing the resolution and working together to pass this. So in its present iteration, the SCR 219 is asked the broadband HUI, which is led by Bert Lum, to include a representative of the Executive Office of Aging as a member of that HUI to represent the needs of the Kupunas with regards to digital literacy. As you know, it's very urgent, especially with the fact that we have COVID-19 that has brought forth a lot of issues and challenges related to broadband access. In fact, we were struggling with one particular case yesterday. Anyway, so initially we wanted to convene a working group, and there were several, a little bit more ambitious items that were included there. But in the end, I think this form is actually a good compromise, because it would allow alignment with the broadband HUI and its efforts. I intend to, personally support this and shepherd this through and making sure that we have some data, because I think that's important to even move forward so that we can provide the necessary information. So at the end of the day, our kupunas will have access to the resources that they need to make sure that they're connected, because it is so critical, it is so important in this time. Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you very much. Our kupuna will be educated and also have skills to get the services they need. So that's great. Thank you very much. Any questions of Senator Misalucha? Okay, well, thank you very much. Well, I'd like to move on to Caroline Cadiral. Tell us what's happened on the other bills or your budget and EOA and what we need to know, as well as what didn't pass. I'm going to give that responsibility to you as well.
Well, thank you, Senator Moriwaki, and for all the representatives and senators. Thank you so much for this legislative session. I know it was an unprecedented one with doing everything electronically. Actually missed walking the Capitol, just that exercise. But just thank you again. And thanks to all the advocates for really supporting everything that we're doing for older adults, whether it's in the realm of Alzheimer's, long-term services and supports, ombudsman program. I just, again, thank you very much. We had some wins with, and some not so wins, but quickly on the state budget, we have, it's showing the 1.0 full-time equivalent language that we need so that we can work on establishing the Alzheimer's disease and related dementias coordinated position. So we're very excited about that. That's in House Bill 200. We did, and we expected this with the economy the way it is, that there would be proposed decreases to our long-term services and support. So there was a reduction with Kupuna Care and with our funds for the Aging and Disability Resource Center. We did have additional CARE Act funds that came down, I believe, through the budget bill. And then there's also some funds in the amount of 1.5 million for senior centers. And again, you know, during this whole time of isolation and the fact that seniors couldn't go to centers and centers had to figure out ways of still engaging their membership during these times and keeping people, you know, mitigating social isolation was really needed. And the fact that there aren't grant and aids to support these programs, which I know a lot of these programs have relied on the grant and aid funds in the past. So those funds, I think, my understanding is coming down through some of the federal funding is my understanding, but I do need to go back and check that to make sure. So, you know, all in all, I think it was, you know, we fared well. You know, I think all people are having to tighten up their budgets during this time. So it was expected. I think this first year we will be okay. There's a lot of monies coming down through the Recovery Act funds. We only got our awards this week through the Title III Older Americans Act. That should provide us some support and kind of help to offset some of the losses we took on the state side. So that's a good thing. And then that's about it on the budget, Senator Moriwaki.
Caroline, yes. So Caroline, can you just clarify? So the budget, you didn't get all of your funds for Kupuna Care, but you did have funds from ARPA or federal funds. Does that make you whole, or are we in the hole? You know, what are we in terms of the budget going forward, at least in the coming year before get to the
I think we're slightly less than where we were as far as last year between Kupuna Care and ADRC, but I will preface it with, I haven't done the math yet because we literally got the award like 2 days ago. We are getting monies for meals. We're getting monies for other access type services. It supports transportation, things like that. So those funds can be used to offset. So I haven't done the complete math, but I think this next year we will be okay. You know, I did that presentation almost a year ago where we looked at the decrease in services at the onset of the pandemic, and people didn't want, even though they had the needs were still great in the home, people needed the help. The fear of having agencies come in and provide services and supports really took a nosedive. I mean, it has since then kind of gone back up, but I think we'll be okay this first year. We'll have to keep analyzing. It's really important that we follow our data. We look at our allocations, mine how the monies are going out, and then oh, hold on, so sorry. Let me just turn that off. And then really just to follow the allocations and the expenditures of funds. And I should have more to report after I have a chance to analyze the funds
Maybe
coming
next
down
month.
from the feds.
Okay. Any
Yeah.
questions of Caroline? I see one question. It's a definition of senior center. When you say funds are coming down to the senior centers.
My understanding, and I think I have to go back and look. I don't have, it's centers that provide services to older adults 60 and older is my understanding. But because I haven't really dove into all the details on that. And we've had conversations with certain representatives. So I have to go back and follow up on that. I could share more at another meeting on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions of Caroline? Okay, well, let's go into, we're going to screen share bills that did not pass.
Oh, yeah, Senator, I'm sorry. You wanted me to go over that?
Yep,
too?
yep. I think we have the Kupuna Caregiver ones at 838.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But the next one down, the APRN bill, Art Care, Art Choice, the death and dying support.
Okay. I'll just speak very briefly to Senate Bill 838.
Oh, you can talk about the first one too, because there are some things that passed in 838. No? What died in conference, so that
Right.
if you can identify what died in conference and what people may want to work on in the interim, that would be helpful to see what we might want to have some champions working on this in the interim for next session.
And I don't want to speak for others or those that were in the conferees. I know for EOA, as the bill went through the different channels and came out, there were some changes to the bill as far as, I think, certain things we could still live with as far as naming conventions and stuff. I mean, we could live with whatever the changes those were, and probably would just still stick to how we write up our contracts based on the Older Americans Act. But I think the one thing that for EOA that was concerning was the mandatory training. Kind of was, it was around the coaches having to be mandated reporters and to be trained in that. But that's already a requirement of their contract as contractors, as social service agencies. So we have that all written in their contracts. So we felt that wasn't necessary. So I know in the very last hearing, we had commented on that about the changes. I know there was my understanding, there was a little concern about the relaxation of the hours and, how that would open it up to more individuals in the program, caregivers and care recipients alike. So I think that was a concern when it got to committee. That's my understanding.
I don't know if Senator San Buenaventura is still on, but I don't know if you have any insights as to what we might go forward with in some of the issues that came out of the discussion SB 838 or HB 491.
Okay, so the biggest problem with SB 838, and I spoke to Caroline about this at the time when it came in, is the relaxation of the 30 hours, right? Because we have only one time funding, and with at the time when we first started caucus, session, we're looking at $1.7 billion deficit. So if we use up that money, we don't know whether or not you're going to end up getting any, whether or not we're going to get any more monies in the future. So that's the reason why, that's my understanding, because it basically died because we did not have any FIN or WAM clearance, which means it's a money issue. So if the other issues in SB 838 could, regarding coaches as mandated reporters, that sort of thing, is separated out, then SB 838 would have passed. But at a time when we have this unprecedented shortfall, there was an uncertain economy. Yeah, it's kind of difficult to get SB 838 passed. So, let's see what happens next year. I mean, do we really need to relax it with an uncertain economy? Or are you guys willing to, it's one of those things we got to talk about, Caroline.
Yeah.
Before we submitted it again. Maybe instead of 30 hours, you guys are willing to agree to a 35 hours and promise not to ask for more funding in the future. I don't know. But that's a concern. The concern is we're going to deplete those funds at a time when there's an uncertain economy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you can do some assessment, looking at your past usage, and looking at what might be, as Joyce says, what might be a reasonable threshold on the funding, but also separating out what is going to cost money and what is a policy, like your training of your coaches. I think that you can have as two separate bills rather than put money bills with non-money bills, so that one that doesn't require money has a better chance of passing.
Mm-hmm. And
So,
I do want to, and I'm so sorry, Senator. I just want to shout out that, we will continue to support our caregivers. We have our National Family Caregiver Support Program funds. We have Kupuna Care, which really supports caregivers. It may not be called the Kupuna Caregivers Program, but those supports are still there for working and non-working and retired caregivers. So we will continue to support our caregivers with their assessments.
So those of you who are zooming in, if you hear any of these bills that the issues there are something that you would like to work on, we need to get the group together so that there is an advocacy critical mass going forward. So legislators really do listen to you, and especially if you have firsthand experience in what it is, so that we can get these bills passed next time. So take a look at what we're discussing, and if you do have, put it in the chat. We can form groups to work on it, and Representative Hashimoto and I'd be glad to coordinate that. And I'm sure the other senators and representatives of interest as well can help in shepherding some good bills to come out next session. So moving along to the 839. Caroline, what happened with that? SB 839, HB 487. This is the
There's our Choice Act.
yeah.
I do apologize and drawing a blank on this one, but I wanted to see if maybe anyone else.
Anyone else?
Maybe from my staff or from the caucus remembers
Troy?
Senate Bill 839.
Yes.
Oh, Troy.
So this one got a quick referral in the House, right?
You want me to talk about that one?
Yeah.
Okay, so APRN. So basically, neighbor islands, especially Maui, wasn't getting the people who wanted abortions needed needed to fly over to Honolulu. So APRNs is the aspirational, is that it? No, I'm sorry, wrong one. So AP,
Not abortion.
39. So, I'm
Abortion.
sorry, it's the wrong one. I keep thinking about these APRN bills. So I don't think this passed, right?
No,
No. So
This
yeah,
is-
the relaxation.
this,
And I think
yeah, this is the death and dying one. Death and dying one. Look
yeah.
at,
So
59.
yeah, we really, I really advocated for this one because especially, yeah, especially like because we have limited medical providers,
Mm.
PRN should be allowed, and I think it died in house.
Yeah, it got a quadruple referral in the House, so
Mm.
that's where the problem is. And so I think part of the issue that we were told was that they wanted to actually study the issue more. So that's what's going to move forward. There was a resolution HR that passed. I think there was a HCR that was floated to the Senate to looking back because there was some changes that the House didn't like. So I think that may be the pattern with APRNs until this study finishes, but we shall see because it's not a HCR, it's a HR, but maybe they'll continue to move forward with the study anyway. So I think that's the sense I'm getting from both the health chair and the CPC chair. So it's the
Was
problem
it-
lies with the House.
Was the thrust of the problem what Joy is saying in terms of APRNs? And because the neighbor islands,
APRNs.
or is it the death and dying part?
Well, I think the neighbor
Yeah.
islanders, I think honestly, it's probably a little bit of both. But I think the biggest issue right now is going on with APRNs that there needs to be some type of study to look into what is the role of APRNs. Because I think as a neighbor islands perspective, I agree with Joy. I agree with Senator Baker on their advocacy for the ability for greater, health providers. But I think sometimes people don't really understand the unique positions of the neighbor islands as well.
So I just want to point out, because I was involved in the original Our Care, Our Choice Act. You got to remember, it barely passed. One representative, and I'm going to give a shout out to him, and that is Scott Nishimoto, who was judge chair. I mean, frankly, had he not agreed to hear it and pass it, that thing would have died. It basically boiled down to him. So, and in order for it to pass his criteria, he needed to have the mandatory waiting period and the like. And frankly, the House this session moved further to the right than before. So I agree with Troy. It's not only APRN, but it is also anything to do with Our Care, Our Choice is going to be difficult regarding relaxation in this political climate. Yeah.
Okay,
Might be a little too
sure.
soon, but I think we just got to keep at it, right?
Mhm. So let me, I think I see Rick Tabor's hand up. Rick?
Yeah, thank you, Senator. Yeah, I was doing some things with compassion and care, and we had quite a bit of data supporting both of those bills. And as you recall,
a little too soon to push.
Wait, hold on one second. I don't know
This,
the feedback. Wait, one
but I
second.
think we just got to keep at it.
I think Rep. Troy
Sorry, my
is still
internet connection
talking.
is funky.
Okay. So, okay, I think, yeah, okay, now Rick, sorry. Okay, try now.
Okay. So I've been
Proceed.
working with compassion and care quite a bit this year, and we sent quite a bit of information out. Senate, you guys passed it, what was it, 23-1, no problem. But as Senator Joy just mentioned, when it got to the reps, it was referred to 4 hearings, which was, of course, that killed it right there. But right when it was referred, Sam Trad, myself, and several of us started contacting all of you and everybody that we could. Didn't necessarily hear back from everybody, but folks I did hear back, I really appreciated the feedback. So I was told I won't do names, but because what Senator Joy just mentioned earlier, the aspiration for APRNs was passed, that it would be very difficult to get this passed through just for what Senator Troy was just mentioning. And so it kind of died there. But the issue, and I'm willing to work on this, and I know I have a whole team of folks that are. So the issue is that people that, it's death with dignity, and people are not able to get to the pills in a reasonable time, especially outer island kind of folks, especially like Big Island. And so it's miserable what happens. And I'm mental health myself. And so, folks will end up suiciding and things like that, that are just so traumatic for everybody. And this is just a compassion. It really is a compassion and care kind of bill. So I'm very passionate about it. I'm going to throw in just a two cents here. I actually had an operation on October 13th for a routine kind of operation. Turned out to be cancer. I had a 17-centimeter tumor removed. And so in the middle of actually discussing all of this and learning about all of this, I suddenly faced it myself. And I lost a cousin in December to cancer. I lost a cousin 2 years ago. And it was miserable for them to go through this. The research is out there that supports this. I'm very passionate about it. And I understand it's not a choice that everybody is going to make, and they don't have to make that choice. So I'm willing to work on this. I'm real disappointed though what happened. It's almost undemocratic what happened, because I didn't get a reply from many people in the House of Representatives. I had a reply from everybody in the Senate. And I'm a little bit disappointed how that actually shook out, because as I said, we had a lot of really good information, a lot of good data. CDC supports this. There's a whole lot of support around all of this. It's passed in many other states. So just saying, it's a big issue. I'm willing to help out on this next year to make it work even better next year if possible. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Rick. So we do have you down for compassionate care while working on this bill in the interim. So we will have people sign up to help you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Okay, Caroline, back to you.
I think the next one was Senate Bill 835 on the list, I believe. I think that was the one about the 5 days. Oh, where'd it go?
This is the reporting. To
The
report
reporting, right?
to the inspection, that they should report it on their website and more immediately, at least to know what facilities are having problems, so that people who are seeking facilities, would know. What's
Right. But
Bill H had concerns with it, right? Oh, often.
right.
Here, sure.
I think it was just around the 5 days that there was concern. I'm so sorry, my camera wasn't on. There was concern that 5 days was too short a time to, that was my understanding.
Rick, you have some comments about that?
I would just say, considering what's currently going on and what we just heard in Fabia about Oceanside dignity and that the report still is not actually posted. Okay, maybe 5 days is maybe too fast to turn around, but the fact of the matter is these reports aren't being posted at all. And as you know, on Kupuna Council, so now I'm speaking as the first vice president of Kupuna Council, the reports aren't being posted, and it's a huge issue. And so we're watching right now a whole program that's being shut down, and people have no place to go. And so just heard about that just a little bit earlier with Caroline and everybody here at Fabia. Somehow, so I'm willing to work on this one as well. Kupuna Council is very invested in this one. And we have some things happening right now that need to be dealt with. And I frankly, I'm just gonna go a step further, just step out of the lane a little bit here and just say, I don't hear a transition plan going on for this home. Great, they have till the end of May, but I didn't hear what happens if at the end of May, people don't have a place to go. But backing up to the report, these reports need to be posted. So when people are looking to place people, that they know what's happening. Now, I'll step a little bit further in. 46 years I've been a mental health clinician. I manage programs. I've been audited left and right. We made our reports right away. And if we did not get them in a timely manner, and much faster than what we're asking for here, we were shut down, and many agencies were shut down. This is in Seattle, and they were shut down, and Seattle Mental Health ended up assuming the role. So we picked up a lot of agencies that were not able to keep up with the reporting requirements that were made. So it needs to be reasonable. So whatever we decide reasonable is for a time for these reports to be posted, we really need to be doing that. So I'm sorry, I'm a little bit frustrated with what's going on over there at Dignity, and a little concerned about the residents there and where they're going to go. They sound like these are folks that don't have a place to go or the ability to go somewhere. Who's helping them with that? So that's an aside, but that's something for the Kupuna Caucus and Pabia and all of us to be kind of considering. I know in Kukua Council it's definitely an area, an issue that we're focused on. Okay, thank you again.
So just a follow-up question, because I know that this was discussed a year before, even I think before the pandemic. So it was a year before a year, right? We had discussions with Keith Ridley. Where did it go in terms of what would be a good solution? Maybe meeting again and requiring not a whole report, but at least something to say this one passes or this one is under, more further inspection or something. But has there been that kind of discussion with Keith? Because I guess that's the agency we're talking about.
Yeah, this was actually initiated by a member of Kukua Council. I don't have that information per se. Kathy, do you know anything about whether anything else happened with that? What the senator's asking for? Yeah, no, we have to take this back.
Yeah, because I think this is an important one, and especially when we see nursing homes being shut down, that should be information known ahead of time than when it gets so bad. So if you are, Rick, you point on that. If you can get some information, and we could send it out to everybody once you can get more.
Sure. Kathy can chime in. She may have more information.
Yeah, well, I just want to say that there have been outreach from several facilities that accept Medicaid all over the island. There's places, I think there's 40 people remaining in the building, and there's places for those folks to go to. It's just taking time to get them there. So it's not as dire. I don't think it's as dire as it sounds.
Right.
And it certainly needs to happen, just in my personal opinion.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the reporting and the time length around all of that, we'll work on that, Senator.
Okay, good.
Senator, it's Caroline. I would recommend possibly, as far as the 5 days or whatever that is in the bill that died, Senate Bill 835, I believe. Maybe inviting Keith Ridley possibly to a caucus meeting in the future would be a good idea.
Okay, we'll try to invite him to maybe the next one then. Well, I think Derek, you have something you're going to present next time. Wait, let's finish up the bills and then.
Yeah, I think that is going to be a very critical aspect, because I think the issue with the House was concerns about implementation. So I think until that is figured out, I think there's going to be issues.
Okay, so let's do this one too to follow up the reporting. The next bill is SB 836. Remember, this is a long-term care insurance that notice should be given to the elders on long-term care insurance before it just lapses. And I know that we got pretty far before the pandemic, and then it got lost last year. And then this year it didn't go too far. Anybody here following that bill? SB 836, was it? Was it 836? SB 836. What happened to our?
Well, I know that this is Caroline. I know
this is the SB 836.
The long-term care insurance lapsing notice of termination. I thought that was a really good one too. I'm not sure what the reasons were for why it didn't go forward, but I guess common sense, it makes sense.
But I mean, these are their insured, so I don't know why we can't get them to. Maybe we should call on them too to report to us the problem.
There we go. Then maybe we would understand why.
Sarah, Dr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I have a little bit of information on that.
Okay.
I heard that, you know, the bill was did not pass through because the insurers, the insurance company, they said they have been doing that already. So I think the key point was, you know, can it be sent through registered mail, you know, to ensure the receipt of the, you know, the notice. But yeah, but it was quickly dismissed in this past session.
Okay, well,
So Sharon, based
Yes.
upon really the testimony from last year, which I'm assuming is the same as this one, what Sarah was saying is correct. A lot of the insurance companies are saying that they're already doing it. And the reality is certified mailing now. I mean, have you folks tried to do certified mailing recently? I mean, I have, and it's like
Costly.
jumping through hoops now because of the current climate of reduced hours and reduced personnel over in U.S. Postal Service. So I think really the advocate should look at seeing whether or not something other than certified mailing, like emailing or something like that, where it's cost effective and faster, rather than certified mailing, which is actually taking a lot longer than it used to. So the whole notice requirement is kind of, especially now, I mean, we're not going to give them notice if they're going to get the actual certified mail like 3 weeks later versus, right? So I think that was the discussion, whether or not by doing this, it actually defeats the purpose of prompt notice.
No, that's a good point. Yeah. Well, maybe that's something we should look into, or we could invite the insurance commissioner and see if he has some feedback that he can get from insurance companies of how we can ensure that those who have long-term insurance, especially as they get older, how they can get notice and not just have their policy lapse or not knowing what's going on. So maybe that's something that we might want to do as well as a follow-up. Anyone else with suggestions? I think those are good suggestions to follow up. Okay, so I'm going to go back to screen. Anyone else on insurance insurance notice for long-term care insurance? Okay, the last bill we have, is that it? Oh, that was it. Anything else? Anyone else had any bills or resolutions that that were important to them that we didn't see this session that we should work on in the interim? Okay, well, I guess we have our work cut out with these bills, these resos. So we will send something out in the next email on at least 3 of these projects, and then maybe we can invite Keith Ridley to the next meeting with Derek.
Right.
Derek, you want to let us know what you have ahead for us? You want to share at the next meeting?
Yeah, sure, Senator. If you and the caucus is interested, would be happy to share really the work for our community partners in response to the pandemic on 2 initiatives, the Kupuna Food Security Coalition and our Kupuna Vaccination Outreach Group. I think we have a lot of good work that we supported on both initiatives that was really driven by our community partners. So if interested, happy to present along with some of our other partners possibly. So I'll leave it there.
So is that okay with everybody? Derek, next meeting is the next meeting, June meeting.
We can do that.
Willing to meet in June? What day? June 4th, the June 4th meeting, Derek?
June 4th, I can do that.
Okay.
And I think, you know, if there are any other priorities that you think you want the Kupuna Caucus to push for next legislative session, we would like to know sooner than later, because we would like to work on them so that we can kind of vet through them. So if you have any ideas for the 2021 legislative session, please bring it up sooner than later so we can kind of have a better chance of success in the next session. Because we will probably need to work through some of the issues and make sure we have everything figured out. So probably maybe.
I think that's important because some of these issues take a lot of time to work through, because the more consensus we have, and
can take a call for ideas and collections.
Senator? Okay. Rick has his hand up and I have my hand up. Rick?
Okay.
I was just going to say, so traditionally Kupuna Council has a legislative priorities meeting, and that'll be in October. And then we pick our top 10, which we then actually present here at the Kupuna Caucus, and then we pick from there. Next thing that we have coming up will be, of course, the good, bad, and the ugly, which we'll be inviting everybody to. And we'll talk to you about that in a little bit. But we can certainly start working on stuff before then and make that a part of the priorities list. I think that's important also. Yeah.
I think it's really helpful, Rick, to do it as Troy says beforehand, because some are, issues, and you could throw it on the table, but there's so much to be worked out during the session, and if it's done before the session, with consensus, more likelihood to pass. Yeah.
We're going to meet on Monday, so I'll bring that to the team. Kathy's here as well. I don't know if Barbara's here. Barbara and Pabia asked if we could maybe go back to 2 o'clock for our meeting time here. I don't know if that works for you, or if it could be a consideration instead of 3 o'clock. Carolyn, right? She was talking about 2 o'clock as a possibility. So I'll just toss that out there, and then I'm done. Kathy had her hand up too.
Okay, Beverly first.
Beverly.
Okay,
Kathy.
Senator, during this time of the pandemic, we have been doing a lot of things online, correct? And we have been doing IDs online also, okay? So can we consider, especially for our seniors, that can we do it permanently for them to renew their identifications online rather than, especially the senior population. But I think at this point, everybody has gotten so used to doing things online to register for certain things that why don't we give them the option and let it be statewide and do it permanently? Especially the IDs, the identification cards, the state IDs. Because other states have it.
Beverly, who administers that?
The state right now I think for Kauai County, you have to go, well, it used to be out of the governor's office, but then it went over to the DMV's office, but it's a state function of the state IDs.
Not the counties.
No, but it's a state function. Okay. And each county has it at a various location, but we're doing it right now. Okay, online. Everything is being done online because it's very limited in person. So why not just make it a permanent thing,
Would you like to research that a little bit more?
I can send you information from California and what California has for theirs.
Also, who in the state would be?
Okay, who does it in this? Who is the coordinating department? Okay, got it.
Oh, Lay.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. We might have the same problem that not everyone have access to a smartphone and a computer. And also too, for a state ID, they take your picture. How do you get your picture onto that card?
Well, I will do the research on that part too, Lay, just to find out how they do it.
Okay.
Because it's being done currently in other states. It's another option,
Okay.
for those people need to at a certain time, but I'll follow up on it.
Some of that. Okay, thank you, Beverly.
Okay.
Thank you, and I'll go back. Thank you. Go back to Kathy. You had something to say.
Yes, I wanted to say that on the happy note, we're celebrating the Older Americans Month celebration on June the 4th, and it's going to be televised on Ololo throughout the islands. The neighbor islands are sending us their videos, and we're going to have it online. Representative Takayama is going to be our host, as he has been in person, but this is going to be virtual. So I invite everybody to watch that. I'll send the information out for the time and the station to look it up on.
Great. So if you give us that information, Kathy, we could also send it out to the full council. I mean, Kupuna Caucus.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I guess we're pretty much on time. Things. Okay, so what we'll do for the June 4th meeting is have Derek, and we'll see how much time Derek needs. If there's extra time left on that, we could ask Keith Ridley to stop by. But you know, if we have a full agenda, we'll see if he can come in July. And then in the meantime, we will send around to all of you the bills that we're going to be working on that we know of, the compassionate care and the insurance and the insurance, yeah, the insurance notice. And so if you will respond, so we'll send something out, and I guess we'll get your if you email us back, then we can put you in touch with Rick, and we can follow up with that. Rick on both of these, right? Yeah. Okay. Sure. Anybody else? Any other ideas? Any other?
Let me just toss out again. Is there a possibility of meeting at 2 o'clock going forward?
Yes.
Or does it
Okay.
need to be 3?
Can I see a show of hands if people who cannot meet at 2 o'clock? Cannot.
Who cannot.
Because I think we said we did it at 3 because both Troy and I think we had committee meetings, but that, you know, hearings that now we're in interim. So okay with everybody. So from June, we'll meet at 2 to 3 on Friday still. Okay. Anything else? All right then. This meeting.
Mother's Day to the mothers.
Oh yes, happy
Mother's Day, everybody. Stay well.
Aloha.
Aloha. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.